Good evening. Providing emotional support to adults and children facing life-threatening illness. Janet Childs of the Center for Living and Dying in San Jose has more details. The latest on the prevention of and fight against HIV/AIDS with Dr. Michael Harber. Bennett Marks remembers those lost to AIDS. Johnny Zitch interviews Peter Lee, Executive Director of Covered California. And what's this year's theme for the Dance Along Nutcracker? Find out from Ed Boki when he shows us how to make our own tutu for this San Francisco annual wacky tradition on this December 2013 edition of Outlook Video.
Welcome to the World AIDS Day edition of Outlook Video, your nationally recognized, award-winning news magazine for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender communities. I'm Christine Hancock.
And I'm Jay Raley, wishing you a happy holidays from all of us here at Outlook Video. Since our November show was produced, there's been wonderful news regarding the ongoing efforts for LGBT equal rights. With nearly 2 decades of work by the Human Rights Campaign, or HRC, and its diverse, bipartisan, and nationwide coalition of organizations representing millions of people, the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, also known as ENDA, was passed in the U.S. Senate. Check your web search for the HRC website to find links to send a thank you to your California U.S. Senators Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein for standing up for equality in the workplace by voting yes on ENDA.
To become law, the Senate's ENDA bill would still need to be passed by the current U.S. House of Representatives, having accomplished very little beyond 46 votes to repeal or dismantle the Affordable Care Act. The House is crippled by Majority Speaker John Boehner and the Republican Tea Party minority. You might also use that HRC website, as Jay suggested, to send your thoughts about those in the House of Representatives who do not believe in equal rights for all Americans.
But for some good news, we do look to Hawaii. In mid-November, the Hawaii Senate and House passed and the governor signed into law a bill legalizing gay marriage in Hawaii, the very state that kicked off a national discussion of the issue more than 2 decades ago in 1993.
In 1958, African-American civil rights champion Martin Luther King Jr. used a phrase with roots all the way back to the mid-1800s. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We may take heart that the historical progress of our own LGBT rights, though still incomplete, has moved with amazing speed by comparison.
The Center for Living with Dying provides emotional support to adults and children facing life-threatening illness or the trauma of having a loved one die. Ajay Sellers Franciscus dropped in recently at the center in San Jose for a conversation with Janet Childs. We'll see her later in the program.
World AIDS Day is a time for many of us to reflect on those we have lost to this terrible disease. Bennett Marks remembers a friend he lost to AIDS and his friend's family in tonight's commentary.
Later in our show, Tom Smith talks with Dr. Michael Harber, U.S. Director of Medical Affairs for HIV and Hepatitis C at Merck Pharmaceutical Company, to bring us the latest news in the relentless fight against HIV and AIDS.
Johnny Zitch and Kim Lawson, while taping the Palm Springs Pride event, were able to interview Peter Lee, Executive Director of Covered California, the state's health insurance exchange, charged with bringing affordable, quality health coverage promised to millions of Californians under the Affordable Care Act.
The San Francisco Lesbian Gay Freedom Band puts on their annual one-of-a-kind dance-along Nutcracker, where you and the kids can rent a tutu and dance to Tchaikovsky Christmas Classic. But if you want to make your own tutu, Ed Boki from the band will be here in the studio to show us how to make one.
Make sure to have your pencils and notepads ready so you can jot down how to create your very own tutu for this year's Dance Along Nutcracker. But first, we'll get started with Ajay Sellers Franciscus interviewing Janet Childs of the Center for Living with Dying.
Hey, I'm Andrew.
I'm Sarah, and we're from Facebook, and you're watching
Outlook Video.
Good evening. This is Ajay Sellers with Outlook Video, and I have the distinct privilege this evening to be at the Center for Living with Dying, which is a program of the Bill Wilson Center. I'm here with Janet Childs, who is the Director of Education, Training, and Intervention. Good evening, Janet.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Ajay.
So, Janet, I know the Center for Living with Dying is part of the Bill Wilson Center, but can you tell us about some of the programs that are offered here at the center?
We have been providing grief counseling and intervention for the past 38 years in our community. And we started because we wanted to create a safe place for people to come who were dealing either with a life-threatening illness or had a loved one who was seriously ill, or they were dealing with the grief process after the death of a loved one. And so what we have are groups and individual support, and we work with you for as long as the need exists in terms of creating a safe environment where you can gently talk about your grief issues and get tools for coping to help you survive.
So now I also know that the center is connected with HIV and AIDS.
Yes.
And dealing with clients who are dealing with that medical issue.
Absolutely. And what we do for those clients is we absolutely provide them with one-on-one support. We also have a wonderful rejuvenation retreat called our AIDS Rejuvenation Retreat that happens quarterly in January, in April, in July, and in October. And our next one will be January 24th. It's always the fourth Friday. And it's a free retreat where you can just relax, play, and be with other people in a safe and nurturing environment.
So I know that World AIDS Day is coming. It is December 1st,
Yes.
which is exciting. It's always fun to see everyone get together and be so positive in really eradicating AIDS off the planet, because I know that is the goal of the World Organization. What events are going on for the month, for World AIDS Day and the whole month of December?
Well, you know what we're honoring is we're doing several different community events that are happening in churches and also in community agencies that give people the chance to come together and hear about the latest and greatest and what's happening in the world of AIDS research and also in the world of the human experience of people triumphing over this disease and actually making meaning out of it and bringing healing to our world. And so I would invite you to check out websites, check your local church community, and see what they're doing. It's on Sunday this year, so we're doing a lot of grassroots things in different parts of our community.
Wonderful. Are there any other events coming up for the month of December?
Absolutely. We have our annual Light of Lights candle lighting ceremony, and that is happening on December 11th. This will be our 29th year of doing this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what's that whole celebration about?
It is about honoring our loved ones who have died. And we actually light a candle and say the name of our loved one. We also have a wonderful keynote speaker that will be speaking about his grief journey. And then we will have what we call community candle lighting. And it's where we light candles for special issues in the community. One of those issues will be AIDS and HIV. And we're just bringing healing and coming together and honoring the lives and celebrating the lives of those people that we have lost.
So I know the Bill Wilson Center and the Center for Living and Dying are both nonprofits and accept donations and volunteers. How can people get involved or donate funds if they'd like to support the Center for Living with Dying?
You absolutely can get involved by becoming a volunteer or by donating money to us. We would love that for our programs because our AIDS retreat is actually funded with donations. We don't have any official funding right now for that, and people have continued the tradition by funding. Call us at 408-243-0222, 243-0222. We also at Bill Wilson Center do a lot of work with youth, and we have a lot of LGBT youth programs, and we also directly reach out to youth at risk. So that is a program that can also be supported by your support of the Center for Living with Dying.
Well, thank you, Janet. This has been very informative and interesting, and I know most people wouldn't necessarily think, but happy World AIDS Day, because
Yes.
I know that we're going to eradicate this.
Yes, absolutely.
And, I think people forget that it's a very positive place now because we are making such strides. And I know the events I've been to see it as a very positive thing.
We are breaking the conspiracy of silence, and we're bringing healing on the emotional and spiritual level as well by coming together as a community. So not only on the medical level, but I really believe that we can work to heal a lot more things that have come out of this by coming together, and that's what World AIDS Day is all about.
Well, thank you, Janet. Thank you for taking some time to speak with us, and have a great World AIDS Day. This is Ajay Sullers for Outlook Video at the Center for Living with Dying, a Bill Wilson program.
Sugar plum wannabes, wallflowers, and people with 2 left feet, step on up. Everyone's a star at the Dance Along Nutcracker, where you concoct your own choreography as the San Francisco Lesbian Gay Freedom Band performs Fantasia faves from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Ballet. You'll search with the crew for the lost treasure of Pegleg's Tchaikovsky as the audience dances along. At the Dance Along Nutcracker, you and the audience crewmates are the stars. Bring the kids to a daytime show or treat yourself to the Captain's Ball Gala featuring pre-voyage party with dancing, cocktails, and holiday hors d'oeuvres, and enjoy one of San Francisco's most unique holiday traditions. The Dance Along Nutcracker sets sail for 4 performances on December 14th and 15th at the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts. For more information, point your toes in your web browsers to dancealongnutcracker.org.